Hey, my friends, it's Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast, and there are a few things that happen to me from time to time in sports where I just get fixated on the thing I'm not going to do, and then I exactly do it. Like when I was learning how to snowboard, and still, I suppose, kind of when I go snowboarding, somebody was telling me, like, hey, if you don't want to hit trees, just don't look at the tree, because whatever you look at, that is where you're going to go. So if you're like, oh, don't hit that tree, that one right there, that one right there that's coming up on me with the pointy branches, that's the one not to hit. You're going to hit it. You got to just stop looking at the tree, and your body and your shoulders will kind of go in a different direction, and it'll just work out. It's proven to be a really good rule. If I don't look at the tree, I go to good places. If I do look at the tree, I go to bad places. Sometimes also in sports, there's just time to think about things. Maybe you've got a little bit of a breakaway. You're playing basketball or something up at the gym, some guys. And you're like, I'm usually pretty good about finishing at the rim, like even in traffic, not that big a deal. I like a little bit of contact, but you get me out there alone and give me a second to think about it. And your brain doesn't just go to, just relax and just do what you've done a gazillion times and just roll this off the backboard and in and just get on with it. Everybody expects you to make it. It's a foregone conclusion. No, your brain sometimes starts going, it would be really embarrassing to miss this. Don't miss this. Do not miss this one. Do not just chunk it up there and give it too much. And then you just do it. You do exactly the thing that you were insisting that you should not do and that you were fixated on not doing. I feel like that is exactly what we are getting from Peter here in Matthew 26, who frankly has just never taken very well to the idea that Jesus actually is the Son of God, something Peter rightly identified in Matthew 16, and that Jesus therefore might know what he's doing, and that Jesus' plan might include him dying and coming back to life. Peter he's struggled with that concept, and I get it. The same thing that makes Peter awesome and a great dude and the kind of person you want to be around is also the thing that makes him weird and screwy and occasionally frustrating. It's probably exactly how I am. I don't know that I'm necessarily the best at self-awareness, but I feel like the things that make me fun and reliable and that people would point to and be like, that's why I like being that guy's friend, are just almost exactly the same list of things that in other circumstances cause people who love me to point at me and be like, that's exactly how he can be irritating at times. They're closely related. You don't get one side of the coin without the other. And so Peter's brashness and bigness and boldness and take control of the situationness and his emotional decision-making make him both awesome and occasionally, like so many of us, disappointing. This is one of those moments where if you're picturing a movie with a hero, what would you want him to say? Well, you'd want him to say something like what Peter says right here. But then if you're picturing the movie with the hero, you got to actually follow up on that, and Peter doesn't follow up on it. So here's what we're getting. Matthew 26, we just finished the Last Supper. Jesus is predicting that somebody's going to betray him. It looks like everybody's like, okay, well, it's probably not me, except for Judas, who's like, dang, it's definitely me. And then maybe everybody's patting themselves on the back a little bit and feeling like, okay, I guess it's probably not me. But then Jesus says, you're all going to fall away. Matthew 26:31. Then Jesus told them, this very night you will all fall away on account of me, for it is written, referencing Zechariah 13:7, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I've risen, I'll go ahead of you into Galilee, which, as we discussed last time around, is awesome. Is just exactly countercultural and opposite of the idealized way of responding to being wronged or slighted, or in this case, deeply wounded and wronged. Jesus is so big, so mature, and it just comes and goes so quickly. You're all going to do horrible things to me, either actively or passively, either by what you do to me or what you don't do for me in this next moment. You're all going to fail the test that you're about to be submitted to. I'm the only one who's going to pass this enormous test that I'm being submitted to with the same flying colors that by the power of my Father, I passed it when I was in the desert being tempted all the way back in Matthew 4. I'm going to pass the test. Y'all are going to fail the test in different ways. Yeah, and then I'll see you in Galilee after that, and we'll just pick it up from there. It's just such an amazing attitude and focus that is on display here, and such an amazing glimpse inside the mindset of a Redeemer who idealizes redeemability and who sees that even in his friends who are about to hugely let him down. But instead of being like, wow, the character of my master is amazing, that he would respond to my shortcomings and short-sightedness in this way. He's been right about literally everything, and the laws of time and space bend to his will. I actually saw, a God, Moses show up one time. So I'm pretty sure that he's who he says he is. I guess I'll just have to go with it. Bummer. I guess I'm going to let him down, but thankfully I have his forgiveness, and thankfully his character is what it is. No, instead Peter's like, no, I'm going to argue with you again. And in verse 33, Peter replies, even if all fall away on account of you, I never will. Come on, Peter, every time you say stuff like this, it doesn't work. You're looking right at the tree again. Stop looking at the tree. The more you look at the tree, the more you run into the tree. Just roll with what you got. It's far better than your willpower. This is tested. We got a good sample size here. It's the wrong play. But also, much like I'm just me, and sometimes that's kind of good, and sometimes it's kind of irritating. So Peter, I don't know, he's just Peter. Of course, that's how he's going to play it in this particular situation. And then that's exactly how he plays it. And Jesus' response is kind of the same as his response every time Peter pulls stuff like this. It's like, yeah, okay, well, that's just you, and you're wrong. Verse 34, I tell you the truth, Jesus answered, this very night before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. Now, what's interesting about this is a Schrodinger's cat question here. Would this rooster crows 3 times thing have happened if Peter hadn't stared right at the tree and made this bold proclamation about how things are instead of just leaning into the character and grace of his master? If Peter had just been like, dang it, I did not want to betray him or let him down, but he's the Christ, the Messiah, God in the flesh, knows the things. He's been right about everything. I guess I'm gonna, but thankfully his character is good, so I'll just roll with it. If Peter had done that, does the whole rooster thing even happen? And the answer to the question is, I don't know. It kind of looks like maybe it wouldn't have happened, right? Because Jesus' occasion, his prompting to say the stuff about specifically, no, Peter, you will betray me, and here's what that betrayal is going to look like. It's prompted by Peter's big brash Peterism that he pulls out yet again. No, since you bring it up, not only are you going to fail me, you're going to have multiple opportunities to unfail me, and you're going to pick failing me 3 separate times. You will have multiple opportunities not to hit the tree, and you're going to hit the tree anyway. Now, at this point, we're getting into the territory where when I was in middle school, people would say, just quit digging. You're just digging the hole. You're just getting deeper and deeper. Just stop digging, climb out of the hole. You have an off-ramp here. Take the off-ramp. What are you doing? Peter's not taking that off-ramp. Nah, forget that stupid off-ramp. I'm Peter, and I don't take those. But Peter declared, verse 35, even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you. And all the other disciples said the same. Oh, come on. You're willing to give your lives to follow him around and do all this stuff. Why are you willing to do that? Because how much stuff he knows and his character and the fact that he's right about all these things and that he's God in the flesh. That's why you're willing to follow him around and do all of this. He just said what's going to happen. That's drawing on the same source of authority and same character and same well of deity that causes you to see him as one you should follow to this degree. As weird as it is, and I wouldn't have got this right either, the right response in this situation is to put down the shovel, quit digging the hole, stop looking at the tree, and be like, well, I hate that you're right about this, but you're right about all the things. I guess just thank you for being gracious in advance of failure that I don't intend to make, and I'd really rather not fail at. But if you say I'm going to fail, I hate that. But I guess I'm going to lose my compass here in a little bit. I'm not going to respond rightly to the pressure that's about to be placed on me that apparently I can't possibly understand or anticipate yet. And when I'm put to the test, I'm not going to pass it. Dang it. I wish I was gonna, but I guess I'm not gonna. And thank you so much for your gracious words and that you're going to meet us in Galilee after. And maybe you're like me as I'm sitting here saying that out loud and you're realizing, Yeah, it's just not human nature. Nobody's going to say that. I would never say that. Like, I'm not going to get that right. Even with the benefit of reading the text, I'm still going to hit the tree too. If I warped back in time, even having memorized this passage and discussed it with you, I think I would probably just get it wrong the exact same way Peter did. I just might not be brave enough to say it as directly as he said it. And all the other disciples did the same thing. So I don't know. I mean, you're running into God's sovereign foreknowledge of your own behavior. You're running into determinism and free will questions that melt the brains of philosophers who dedicate their lives to studying this. I've talked myself once again into being empathetic to these poor guys and not imagining myself to be better. I'm not better. I wouldn't have been better. I would have been the worst. I would have done this the exact same way. I would have hit the tree. Still, it is very interesting here to see Peter see the tree, run into the tree in the way he's run into the tree so many other times. And hey, this chief cornerstone, it's weird, it's different, it's solid. And even the people who know it and recognize it for what it is, they still crash against it too. They still stumble over it too, because it is so other enough to establish a kingdom with an other set of values. So it makes sense that it'd be a little tricky, I guess, to know how to interact with this king and the unlimited power of this king. And in this regard, I guess Peter is more exemplary for our own experience than exemplary of how not to screw it up, because I don't know how you do anything but screw it up in his situation here. Interesting stuff. More tomorrow. I'm Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. Let's do this again soon.